Good evening, everyone. This is Sheena Ali, your Caribbean College planner and student advisor at the Student Center. And this is our Cup Fest week. As you know, Cup Fest is about to kick off in Barbados this Saturday at the Lloyd Erskine Sandifer Center. That is Saturday, February 28th from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. One day only is our February fair. We always know that that's one day only, so you have time to come and meet with 16 schools we will have on the floor for you to explore and discuss any information pertaining to your college or university plans and goals, whether you are a secondary school student, a community college student, or you're looking to upgrade after finishing that bachelor's, whether you're still in university or you've completed and you're working and you want to upgrade as a professional, there's an option for you. So this particular webinar this evening, we're going to focus on graduate studies. So that's for persons who already have a bachelor's and they're looking to upgrade. You're probably even looking to switch careers, who knows? But pursuing a master's degree. And I'm joined by Virain from St. Mary's University and Keith from St. Mary's. They're going to talk to you about grad programs at St. Mary's. Funny enough, I'm an alumni of St. Mary's, and I would have done my graduate studies also at St. Mary's many moons ago. So that's a long time. That's even before the 2010. So that will just give you, in essence, how old I am. So they're going to talk to you about SMU, and I can say as a SMU alumni, SMU is a really good option for grad school. I got a lot of work done. Not too many distractions, but enough to keep you happy. So they're going to talk to us about what SMU has to offer. And SMU is located out in Halifax in Nova Scotia in Canada. And St. Mary's will be at Cupfest this Saturday as well. So any information you hear now, you can feel free to come on down and learn a bit more. Now, before we get fully into our presentation from SMU today, we're going to talk a little bit from our side of things at the Student Center because we advise every day on college and university. For those of you in particular, we work with quite a few graduate bound students, and this is just some information we think is important for you to consider when you're looking at graduate studies. So I'm going to start my presentation. It won't be too long. This is just a mini setup for those of you who may be looking at graduate programs and what to do. But before we get into that a little bit, just a bit about the Student Center. We are a higher education-based business providing dedicated platforms where you can receive information pertaining to college and university. It's really, in essence, we help you to prepare for that next step, whether at the undergraduate level, whether you're going to do a diploma, certificate, or a bachelor's, or even further than that, up to doctoral level. And for us, our principal ideology is that higher education should make career sense. And it's not just only looking at a job per se, but you're building a career so that you can create sustainable livelihoods. So whether you work a 9 to 5 and then freelance, or whether you build a whole independent consulting type career, or you build your own business, whatever education you decide to invest in, we recognize it is an investment in your time, your energy, and resources, and there should be ties to creating a sustainable livelihood. Now, we're known for our Cutfest education fairs, and you would have heard me talk about that for a while. But one thing that quite a few people are learning slowly is that we actually promote what we know. So this is not just about you can go online and look at a school, but we actually take time into visiting schools all across the world. So I've visited close to 100 schools and I've even touched Australia, the island continent, because it is in our best interest to ensure whatever information we give to you, we can validate that for ourselves. So we spend quite a bit of time on the road, not just visiting schools and touring schools, but we also do conferences and continuous training. This is an area where things change very quickly. So, for those of you looking at graduate school, you're probably a little bit more into your career or about to get started. And so you're probably going to get more focus into your studies. And so at this level and at this stage, you should have a bit of a clear idea of what you are going to do. It's really, really important, whether it is to do a master's or after a master's, you go on and do a doctoral studies. This is when you start to narrow down your area of focus and you really start to specialize a bit. Now, here are some frequently asked questions that we tend to get for persons looking at graduate school. One of the most famous questions, are there funding opportunities at the graduate level? And that really depends on the type of graduate qualification that you're going to pursue. Another infamous question, and that's really more so for the doctoral students, can you get your entire PhD funded? Now, when I will answer this question like how I answer undergrads looking for full ride scholarships. There might be scholarships that may cover all of your tuition to some extent, but there's always a shortfall. And I definitely would take this time to stress having a comprehensive financial plan that does not heavily fully ride on a scholarship. So just in case you lose a scholarship, or just in case the scholarship only covers a certain amount, there's always a shortfall that you have to ensure that you can fund. So having multiple sources of options is something we recommend. Other questions might pertain to being able to stay after you complete your study. And so this depends on where you're looking to study. So there are some destinations, and I know SMU might address that a little bit today, or you can even talk to them on the floor this Saturday about it. Post-graduation work rights and what happens if you are going to be an international student and you complete a graduate level program. What happens? What are your prospects afterwards? And there's some of you who would have completed undergrad and your GPA might not be the best, and you're still looking at upgrading, but you're wondering, is there an option for me? And then I will say yes, there's always an option. It's just how willing are you to take the steps required to get there? And do I have to pursue a degree in the area that I would have studied at undergrad, or can I use that time to change? And in some cases, yes. In some cases, it depends on the area, depends on the school and what their offerings are, but there's always an option for you. So one thing I always ask graduate students, are you ready? And here are a couple of things, a couple questions I need you to ask yourself as you're going through this process. I've done it, and I'm certain Rain and Keith, you guys have been there and you've done it yourself, because that graduate study is really a big investment. So what type of graduate or postgraduate journey would you like? You have to think about that very carefully. You want to focus on something that's research-based? Do you want to focus on more taught-based? Do you want to go up after that to doctoral? Those are some questions you want to have. Do you want to go abroad? Do you want to do it distance? You know, what's your journey going to be like? What do you want? And then recognition. Is the institution accredited? Is the qualification industry recognized? And for those of you looking at areas of study that are tied to a regulated profession, that's really an important question for you to ask, especially if you're going into psychology, for example, engineering, anything in the health. As also, like if you want to do medicine, something medicine based or nursing, is my mobility improve? And by mobility could be very subjective. So mobility could be in terms of making more money or getting a higher paying job or creating a career or expanding your income pipelines, the promotion that you've been looking for, getting into management. Those are questions you need to ask. And then the return on investment. What are your expected outcomes? So these are some questions that before you make a step that you should start to ask yourself is really important. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for a minute. And so I know that was a lot to take in, but I really, really think those are some steps you need to take first before you actually go into graduate studies. This is not like undergrad. Undergrad is very different. And so to help me enhance that knowledge even more, I'm going to have Keith and Virain talk about St. Mary's and what they offer at the graduate level. I mean, those were a couple of years, some good years I had there in the IDS program. I know it's the Global Development Studies program now, but good years at St. Mary's. Good residences for grad students too, good grad apartments. I would recommend that strongly if you're going to live on campus. All right, so who wants to go first, Keith or Virain? Which one?
Yes, I'll go first quickly, and then I'll let Keith go second. Yeah, Keith is much better at this than I am. So yes.
I'll turn it over to you, Virain. Go right ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So my name is Virain Tavuma. I'm a professor in the Department of Management. Well, a full professor in the Department of Management in the Sobey School of Business. That's at Mary's University. I'm also the associate dean for our programs in the Sobey School of Business. So I'm responsible for graduate programs. So as you may know, or maybe you don't know, but the Sobey School of Business at St. Mary's University is one of the world's leading business schools. Right. So Sheena mentioned accreditation and recognition and reputation. So the Sobe School of Business, it is one of a very small number of business schools that is triple accredited. It's accredited by AACSB and EQUIS. These are two of the most prestigious business school accreditations in the world, and we have both of them. Less than 1% of business schools have those accreditations. We also are a Prime. We're also accredited by Prime, the United Nations Principle for Responsible Management Education. Um, Further to that, many of our programs are accredited by industry bodies. So, for example, we have several graduate programs. We have a Master in Business Administration at MBA. We have a master in technology, entrepreneurship, and innovation. We have a master in applied economics. We have a master in finance, and we have a master in business analytics. Further to that, we have a master's degree in credit unions and co-ops. We also have two PhD doctoral level degrees. We've got a PhD in business administration, where you can specialize in management, in accounting, and/or finance. We also have an executive doctorate in business administration. Um, so, as I mentioned, we're a world-leading university. Many of our programs, for example, the Master in Finance, is accredited by the CFA Institute, the Chartered Financial Analysts Institution. So, if you do the Master of Finance with us, your courses will count towards the CFA designation, and you actually do the courses that are required to take you through all the way through to get the CFA designation. So I will leave it to that, and I'll let Keith talk. Otherwise, if I continue to talk, Keith won't get a chance. So Keith, you want to take over for a few seconds, and then I'll come back with a few more facts. Keith, you're muted. Sorry, you're
Muted.
muted. You are.
Keith.
Got it there. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Varane, and thank you, Sheena, for opening with an excellent presentation. Some really great questions. I find we get a lot of inquiries, and students haven't thought through their journey towards graduate studies. So thank you, Sheena, for kind of setting the stage. My name's Keith Bain. I'm the graduate programs manager for a number of different graduate programs on campus, primarily in the Faculty of Science and the Faculty of Arts. Just a couple of quick notes about St. Mary's University if you're not familiar with us. As Sheena mentioned, we're on the east coast of Canada in Halifax, Nova Scotia. We are actually Canada's second oldest university, founded in 1802. So we have a very long history of providing high quality education at all levels, including at the graduate level. We have a very broad range of fully accredited programs by the Canadian government in a variety of disciplines, thesis research-based programs, and also the professional. On the professional side, two of my programs that I can highlight really quickly are the International Master of Teaching English. And this program is really designed for international English teachers that wish to achieve recognized credentials in the field at a graduate level so they can and have that mobility that Sheena mentioned. Many teachers would like to get into post-secondary college, university teaching, and having that master's degree in a discipline of teaching English is a stepping stone for them. This is also a popular program for those that would like that international adventure, that want to go out and see the world and teach. Very common for people to go and travel abroad and teach in a variety of countries around the world where there's a huge demand for people with a graduate level education in teaching English. A second program that also is very popular and relevant in these times is our Masters of Science in Computing and Data Analytics program. The program was founded in 2015, really to address some of the opportunities associated with big data. And more recently, with the rise and prominence of artificial intelligence and the skills and knowledge required for professionals to be able to leverage AI and the vast amounts of data that exist in the world to be able to create organizational opportunities. So that program, further piggybacking on what Sheena mentioned, has an incredible return on investment. The program is completely focused on career outcomes and career placement. In fact, since the program was founded in 2015, it has a nearly 100% placement rate for students. The postgraduate outcomes are very important, and these will apply to all of our St. Mary's University professional programs. We have the best permanent residency pathway in all of Canada. Our province has a unique skilled immigration pathway program that builds upon one of the best postgraduate work permits in the world, a 3-year postgraduate work permit. So students can see a pathway from coming to do their graduate studies, either moving on to the next adventure or staying in our province to get a postgraduate work permit for 3 years, and then applying for permanent residency. And we have many graduates that take a variety of these different paths. So that's a quick overview of kind of the couple of highlight programs that I'm very associated with. And I'll put it back to you, Sheena, for any further comments, or to Vereen for kind of follow-up.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Keith. Lorraine, do you want to add anything from Keith?
I'll just add that so all of our graduate programs are world class. They're absolutely exceptional. I'd like to also add that we do very well in placing our students into employment. We have an entire graduate career services team that runs that runs an incredibly strong internship program, and that helps place students into work after they've graduated. So, like Keith said, many of our programs, the employment rate is close to 100%. So we have a pretty incredible infrastructure here to support our students and to prepare them for the work and for the world of employment. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. And then if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those questions.
Great. And I can say firsthand, grad school is really important because you do need a lot of support. It's a higher level of study, and sometimes the learning curve can be a bit steep. One thing I can say about St. Mary's is there was no lack of support from the beginning to the end. Even from the time you entered that application, you had a buddy. I'm not sure if they still have that buddy system, but you actually had a buddy system from the application to when you arrived. And so you kind of knew step by step, even though you were an adult, but you're still an adult moving away from home. For me, I would have done it before, but still, I never lived in Halifax or Nova Scotia. And also the opportunities at grad level, not, I know you mentioned your particular programs, but depending on the programs, there's lots of good funding options, work options. Because before I left, I had a teaching assistantship job and a research assistant job before I landed in Canada. It was offered to me as part of my package for my grad program, which was 2 years in length. Also, one of the interesting things, you also mix classes with students from Dalhousie. I guess you guys have some type of relationship with Dal, but I like the fact that we were able, because Halifax is a university city for those who don't know, but it is. And so you get to meet a lot of different students from all over the world. But one thing about SMU and Dal is that depending on the program, you were able to actually take courses with each other. And in my program, that was the case. So you do get a world global experience. Now, I have a couple questions. Now, for grad students applying, can you walk us through what your application process looks like?
Sure. Do you want me to go ahead, Vereen? Okay. Um, Almost all of our graduate programs require the same kind of documentation. Number one is transcripts. So we are going to look at your university transcripts. As you mentioned, not everyone has the best GPA, especially in those first few years when you transition from high school into your undergraduate degree. So we do look at the last 60 credit hours or the last 2 years of your degree, if your overall GPA doesn't meet the requirement. We have slightly different GPA requirements depending on where you graduated from. So it's always best to maybe share your transcripts with our partners at the Student Center. And then we can work together to give you some tailor-made advice about your particular situation. But normally we look for roughly a 70% or a B equivalent is kind of our standard graduate school entrance requirement. We also have a English proficiency requirement. It's usually not a problem for our partners in the Caribbean, but if your first language was not English, you would have to submit proof of English proficiency. And again, we can help with the different ways you can do that with the Student Center. We need you to submit 3 recommendations. In some cases, some programs will allow 2. But normally it's 3 professional recommendations. These can be a combination, sorry, of professional or academic recommendations. We know some of you may have been out of school for a number of years and lost touch with your professors. So having a recommendation from a colleague or a manager or a supervisor or one of your professors would be wonderful. Most programs require some kind of written statement, like a letter of intent, essentially describing why you want to take the particular program and how it's going to aid you in your career goals. Um, some of the programs have special requirements. I know that maybe, Vrain, you could speak about some of the interviews that are part of the SOBI School of Business. I know in my computing and data analytics program, there is a technical interview that happens because it's a very technical program that requires computing science knowledge and skills. But maybe, Vrain, have I missed any kind of major requirements?
I
Maybe.
know it's pretty much exactly as you said. We do have an interview, so we would ask you to complete an online interview. It's asking very general type questions. It's not as technical as the masters in computer and data analytics that Keith runs. But it's like high level business type questions that you should pretty much you should be very comfortable with. Most students find those questions very comfortable. It's more those questions are more to kind of get a sense of your language abilities and your ability to reason and to communicate really for the most part. So I don't think we've had any trouble with any students from the Caribbean or Barbados. So with that, so yeah.
Okay. I have a follow-up question for you, because you're doing business. And so business can be tied to persons from with various different backgrounds. Are there any particular business programs that you have that you will recommend to persons that don't have a business undergrad that they're eligible for, and which programs they won't qualify for?
So for the most part, all of our business graduate degrees can be taken by students without a undergraduate degree. There's 2 exceptions, and these are not. It's not a full no. It's more the technical aspect. So we got a master in applied economics, where students without an economics background would need to have some preparation. But thankfully, we do have a post baccalaureate certificate in applied economics that helps prepare students without an economics background to get onto the master's program. So you come and spend a year with us, and we'll give you all the basics that you need. The other program that has a bit of a technical element is our master in business analytics. So it does have a focus on computing to some degree, some technical aspects on database management, but it's not a master's in computing science like the one that Keith described. It's really a master's degree that will take your average business person and gives them the skills they need to work efficiently in a data-driven AI machine learning informed capacity. So we found in the past that students with some technical background would do better, but we accept students from all backgrounds on those programs. So those are the 2 programs I'd say. All the other programs we're open to students from all backgrounds for the most part.
Yeah. Brain, I was a teacher before I did my graduate studies, and I did my MBA at St. Mary's University.
Okay.
So they welcomed me with open arms as someone with no background in business, because I had moved into a managerial role in my new career path, and the MBA made the most sense for me. So yeah, there's definitely lots of people like me in business programs, and vice versa. In the science programs, we have people that came from business backgrounds and now see they want to enhance their technical side of their profiles.
Okay, good. I know a question that you know is going to come. Scholarships, finance. So persons will be gathering their money, yes, but they might ask, are there any scholarships available to any of your programs, especially as an international student?
So for the computing science program, we have a program called the Tribe Scholarship, and it's it's trying to increase representation of underrepresented groups in computing science, and traditionally around Indigenous or Black students. So that program has been very popular, and it provides a $10,000 scholarship for students. The deadline is coming up in about a week, but we can also, for students that are in residency, can apply during their studies for that particular scholarship. Most of our programs, however, have the opportunity to earn money during paid internships and paid co-op positions, rather than full-on scholarships. The research side is the difference. Sheena, you referenced about the PhD and the MSc in the sciences. Those would all come with a funding package, much like you had for your IDS studies. So we make an offer to a student that usually includes some combination of money from the university, plus money from our supervisors that are overseeing the proposed research. And then we typically work with students to identify external opportunities where they can apply for additional funding. I know Sobeys has lots of money, though.
Yeah, like I said, we're a world-class business school, and we do have some money, yes. So there are some scholarships. So for the research side of things, exactly as Keith said, you come with a funding package. If you come to do the PhD, there'll be a funding package with some money coming from FGSR and from TA ships, and from research assistantships. For other programs, we do also have some money from the Tribe Network. I know we had some M-Band students that received the $10,000 Tribe Network scholarships. But for MBA, we do have five SOBI Scholar Awards. These are worth $35,000 each. So that's something for students to think about. We also have a Steele Professorship scholarships. I think they're currently about 10,000 apiece, and there's five of those that students can apply for. But in the Sobe School, there are numerous opportunities for students to work. We have over 90 full-time faculty. Many of those professors are looking for research assistants. They're looking for teaching assistants. I hire a boatload of TAs, teaching assistants, and I have quite a few RAs, research assistants. So there is quite a bit of funding available. So yeah.
And this might sound like a bit of a strange question, but what's the average age of your graduate student?
It's a great question. I think most of our programs on my side are students that have had a couple years of work experience. So they would be somewhere between 25 and 30 years of age, is probably the norm. We get outliers. We get students that come right out of their undergraduate degree. They want to stack their undergraduate and graduate programs together and then pursue a career. Those are usually very focused students. So we have students as young as 22 in some of our programs. And then we also have those that have been away from education for a while and then working, and now they really want to take their knowledge and skill to the next level, and they're coming back. And we've had students in their upper 30s, 40s, even in their 50s that have come back and done their graduate programs. I assume it's the same for you, Varane and
That's
Sobi.
exact same, yeah. So average age, anything 25 to 35, depending on the program. Yeah, we've got people coming straight out of the undergrad, the 22, 23-year-olds. We have, for example, in our executive doctorate in business administration, we have people in their 50s. So it's a whole range. In the MBA program, we have people from the early 20s all the way through to people in their mid 40s. So at this moment in time, so it's quite a range. But I'd say the average is around 25 to 35, give or take.
Um, I know we're out of time, but I'm gonna click another question to Varane. You mentioned an executive doctorate, and a lot of schools come on, they really only focus in primarily on undergrad, and you're one of the few that focus in on grad students, so we're really appreciative. But for that doctorate, because that's also a target audience as well, what are the requirements for that program?
The requirements for the program, well, it's a 3-year program.
Hmm.
So it's a 3-year. It's we call it a residency model. So students um, have to be on campus 3 times a year. So they come in for 4 or 5 days at a time. Otherwise, they can complete most of the modules remotely from wherever they are. The main requirement is that we require students to have a master's degree and some work experience. So for the executive doctorate in business administration, we typically want someone who's had at least 10 to 12 years of business experience. We can waive that. We have students who've had less than 10 years, but it's typically people with a 10 to 12 year um, track record working in business and with a master's degree. But we do have people with less than that. So
Their master's degree must be in business or no?
no, it doesn't have to be in business. It could be in any discipline.
And they are to be resident 3 times a year. So do you
Yeah.
have students from international students on that
We have
program?
international students. Yes, we have international students, and they fly in for the 4 or 5 days,
Okay.
3 days in class, and they come in and they go back to run world-leading companies wherever they're coming from around the world. So yeah, it's a
Okay. And
yeah.
what's the GPA requirement?
It's as Keith said, it's roughly the
B.
so roughly 70% in our system, give or take. So
Okay.
yeah,
No, because I had a
or
student
3.0 grade on
asking.
average. Yeah, yeah.
I had a student asking about a setup like that. So
Yeah.
I just found it interesting that you just mentioned that.
It's a
So
world-class program. It's I think it's I'm biased obviously, but I think it's the world's best EDBA program, at least in my
really,
opinion. It's
can
exceptional.
can can someone with a EDBA go on to become an academic or no?
Yes. Yes, they can. It's a terminal degree. It's a doctorate. So yes, you can go on and become an academic. Yes.
Okay. My final question. Sorry, I'm a little over time, but that's okay. My final question is more personal to each of you. A lot of people don't normally share their educational pathways or their journeys, but do you mind giving us a little bit about your own journeys? You never know who it might inspire. So,
Yeah, so I'm very much like the people who are going to be on this call. So I'm originally from Zimbabwe, Southern Africa. So I did my undergraduate degree in Zimbabwe,
okay.
and I left Zimbabwe to go to the UK to do grad school. So my undergraduate degree is economics. I went to the UK to do a master's in financial economics, and ended up doing a PhD in financial economics. So all the questions you asked, I remember going through all those questions and thinking about return on investment, thinking about, the quality of the institution I'm going to, the reputation, all this. So yeah, I'm an international student. I studied in the UK and began my academic career in the UK and then moved to Canada about 10 years ago to come to
Oh,
St. Mary's. Yep.
so interesting. There are quite a few Zimbabwean students at St. Mary's, so
Yeah,
that
we're very
they
brainy. Barbados has some incredible students and people,
Mhm.
and I think second to Barbados is Zimbabwe. So in terms of, you know,
Well, thanks for sharing that.
yeah.
Where in England did you study? In the UK did you study, if you don't
Uh,
mind?
I studied at Brunel University, so it's in West London.
Now
So
University of
Brunel,
London. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks for sharing. And Keith, what about you?
My journey is a little less spectacular than Verane's. I grew up in Western Canada and studied to be a teacher. Did my Bachelor of Education degree. I spent a few years teaching and retired very quickly from the profession, and wanted to get into something different. And I landed in a position here at St. Mary's University back many, many years ago, and ended up working in student support. So I got a chance to kind of work to support undergraduate students while they were coming into the institution. And I got involved in some research that was there to support students, particularly students with disabilities and those that were struggling with accessibility issues. And it kind of morphed my career, and I took off from being kind of an academic counselor into more project management side. And that's when I did my MBA at St. Mary's University. So I was already there at the campus, working full time, and they had a wonderful pathway for employees to be able to take an MBA. And I was able to get some credentials as well. As we mentioned, a lot of our professional SOBIS programs have this association with the industry. So I was able to get my PMP designation as well. So this nice package of like a master's degree and the industry recognized credentials together. And I've been at St. Mary's ever since. I've been an adjunct professor in a couple of different departments on campus, and I really enjoy the chance I get to work in the classroom with students, but also help the programs to grow and to attract students and to share the story about St. Mary's University that I've been happy to be a part of for so many years.
Oh, great. Thanks for sharing that. And Keith, when did you start at St. Mary's? Which year?
Oh, a long time ago, 1997.
So you were there when I was there.
Oh, really? Okay. I took an IDS class with Professor Jerry Cameron. I'm not sure if that name is familiar to you.
I was there from 2006. So that was O'Malley.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I would have
So,
class would have been a few years earlier, but
okay, cool. So
yeah.
I started and I left in between 2008, 2009. I moved back.
Okay.
I was one of the very few students that actually left Canada. No one else left.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they tend to stay. Yeah, a lot of people tend to stay. We're very, yeah, we like people to stay. So yeah, we do what we can to keep people.
Yeah.
Couldn't convince me. I'm a Caribbean baby, so I made the Caribbean my home. But I want to take this time, gentlemen. I really did enjoy this session. I hope you did too. Thank you for sharing your stories and for the programs. Please note that St. Mary's will be one of the schools on the floor this Saturday in Barbados at the Lloyd Erskine Stanley First Center. The fair starts at 11 a.m. this Saturday and goes until 5 p.m. You can come between those hours and you can hear about grad programs at St. Mary's. And I know I'll be upfront, I have a bias. It's a great option for grad studies and also cost effective as well. Very little debt I had when I finished my graduate studies, and there's a way to do it. And I will also be at the fair, so you could come and have a chat with me at the Student Center desk. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you so much for those that joined us on social media and for those who peeked into the Zoom room. Have a good evening. I'll be back on Wednesday and we're going to talk about scholarships. So attend that on Wednesday. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Sheena. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, Sheena. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks.
Welcome.
Yeah.